what Donald Trump could call Ron DeSantis that would destroy him. I'm sorry. This is what I've been doing. I've been thinking about it a lot because Ron DeSanctimonious, not great. Too big of a word, okay? It's too big. It's too big of a word. I don't think it's just not good mouthfeel. The sanctimonious clearly shows he's going the intellectual route. Yeah, but that's not his. No, he's not strong. That's not a strong suit, you know? Donald Trump has never been an intellectual person. Kind of the whole part of his appeal is that, you know what I mean? He's like a guy who has amassed a profound amount of wealth, but he's just like me, you know? That sort of thing.
News national political correspondent Steve Kornacki. He is back over at the big board. Steve, good morning. We've been talking a lot about Nevada. I see it up on the board behind you, and Arizona this morning. Any new numbers to share that might indicate which way some of these races are trending?
Yeah, well, we got some big developments in Nevada. We were here, it was a little bit close to midnight last night, and we got a big dump of vote in from Washoe County. This is the Reno area here. We got nearly 20,000 votes in, and they actually favored the Democrat Catherine Cortez Masto by a wide margin. It was a bit of a surprise because I think the expectation is it would have been more of an even mix based on what we knew about the party composition of the ballots that were being counted. And so with that, Cortez Masto was able to knock Laxalt's lead inside of 10,000 votes. One of the rural counties
that's crazy.
Also reported out late. That's where Laxalt's been running up huge numbers. So he was able to bring his lead back up to around 9,000. Cortez Masto had taken it down to 8,000 or so. So what is left in Nevada, and when are we going to get an answer? There are still ballots left in Washoe County. There may be as many as 20,000, but officials are indicating that not all of those 20,000 or so are actually going to make it to the point of being counted. They may be spoiled ballots, for instance. So the actual number to be reported out of Washoe may be lower than that. Based on that update that we got last night, I think there'd been an expectation that maybe the Washoe vote was going to be more of a split, an even split between Laxalt and Cortez Masto. But based on that update last night, she may actually be able to net some more votes out of Washoe here. But we'll wait and we'll see. Clark County is the other biggie. It's always the biggie. This is where Las Vegas is. This is where most of the population is. There's at least 50,000 votes, 50,000 ballots. We think a little higher to come out of here. Mainly what we know them to be are ballots that were dropped off in drop boxes on Election Day. What's been happening in Clark County the last couple nights is every update's been favoring Cortez Masto by 60, 65%, somewhere in that neighborhood. Obviously, if she could win the remaining 50,000 plus at that rate, that would give her a very clear opportunity to jump ahead of Laxalt. The question, there are two questions in Clark. Number one, is there a different sort of character politically to the ballots that were dropped off in person in those drop boxes on Election Day than the rest of the early vote, which has been heavily Democratic? The more Republicans just happen to do that on Election Day. You got to start seeing some of those ballots to find out. There are also about 7,000 or so provisional ballots from Clark County. Those will be counted next week, but you do imagine those would favor Cortez Masto a little bit, so she may be able to net a couple extra thousand out of that. Then there's also Douglas County, which is one of the red counties here, very small, but they have votes to report too, so Laxalt may be able to net, another 1,000 or two out of that. So the bottom line is Washoe's a bit of a wild card here. We'll see what else they report, but I think Cortez Masto needs to be getting about 60% of the remaining vote, give or take, out of Clark County. If she can do that, that might be just enough to put her over Laxalt and into the lead statewide. There's a possibility there. Of course, it could.
Big dumps coming tonight. Cortez Masto is expected to take the lead tonight with a big ballot drop. Biggest dumps, folks. The mules are coming in. Finally, the mules are coming in. We've been waiting. The red mirage has been happening in Arizona. But the big mules, folks, the biggest mules, they're doing the biggest dumps.
could be so close you could be into recount territory, but the significance, obviously, Republicans need this one badly to make that December 6th runoff in Georgia count for Senate control. If Democrats get this one, if Cortez Masto can pull out Nevada, then all Democrats would need to control the Senate is for Mark Kelly to hang on in Arizona. And if you're a Kelly supporter, you're feeling pretty good about this because what's been happening again the last couple of nights is his lead's been going up. 2 nights ago, we were here and it was about 85,000. He has since added 30,000 votes to his statewide lead. Why? Mainly because Maricopa and Pima County, these are the 2 biggies in the state, Maricopa by far the biggest, had a ton of early vote still left to count. That's favored Kelly overwhelmingly. Now, the story is going to begin to shift, we believe, tonight in Arizona because, for instance, in Maricopa County, there's nearly 300,000. The number they're now giving us is 290,000 ballots that were dropped off by voters in person on Election Day. And in 2020, this was a pretty heavily Republican batch of votes. In 2018, it wasn't. So there's some suspense here exactly what it'll look like. But if
Did you know that Kelly has a Texan twin who's also an astronaut that may run against Cruz in 24? Yes. I did not know that he might run against Cruz, but I don't. Yes, I do know that Mark Kelly is an astronaut and his twin is also an astronaut. His twin's the one that broke the record, right? Most time spent in space or something. And then they like matched them up together. And he was like shorter, like he was visibly shorter than Mark Kelly. Scott Kelly is the one. Yeah. Because of how much time they spent. Like, yeah, his DNA changed or some shit. It's pretty fucking cool.
That this is going to be a pretty strongly Republican batch of votes. Kelly may have banked a big enough lead here, may have built up a big enough lead where Masters would just need to get such an obscene number with this 290,000.
That impression is a work on, brother. Dude, that impression is so spot on that people will think that I am Marjorie Taylor Greene. Okay.
It may not be enough, even if he's doing really well, to erase that kind of lead statewide. So for Democrats to control the U.S. Senate.
There are motherfuckers whose aunts sound exactly like that. You can fucking copium me all you want.
Without even needing that Georgia runoff, they're feeling, I would say, pretty good about Arizona. Nevada, they certainly have a path. They'd be a little bit more, I'd say, cautiously optimistic about Nevada. Where Democrats maybe are feeling very jittery this morning is in the other marquee race in Arizona. Because if you see Kelly leading by 115,000 in the Senate race, very different story in the governor's race. Democrat Katie Hobbs' lead over Kari Lake is under 27,000 votes. We've seen Hobbs continuing to run about 80,000 votes behind Kelly's level. And again, that dynamic I just talked about, that 290,000 ballots or so, if they indeed, it's an if, but if indeed they are Republican to the extent they were or somewhere around the extent they were in 2020, that's going to be more than enough ballots for Kari Lake to leapfrog Katie Hobbs and take the lead in the governor's race. So that 290,000 is consequential, obviously, to control of the U.S. Senate, but also to this governor's race in Arizona.
So, Steve, for our impatient viewers, fair to say that tonight around 10 o'clock, perhaps on a Friday night, you might have a better sense of where Arizona is headed?
Yeah, it was on the dot last night, 10 o'clock Eastern time. We got a big update of 76,000 votes from Maricopa County. We'll see if they give us
keep
guidance
working, mules. Keep them.
But I think
keep
what
the
we
mules
are
working, brother.
Is finally, we had hoped to get it last night, but I think finally tonight that much, talked about 290,000 ballots that were dropped off same day. I think tonight we're going to get, I don't think we're going to get all of them, but I think we're going to get a big chunk of them. And I think that chunk is going to tell us, is this like, because Masters in the Senate race, Masters is going to need them to be like 70% Republican, something like that. And if we see a batch that's 50-50, or if the Democrats are actually leading with them, which we saw a couple years ago, then I think you're going to pretty clearly see that Masters' path is drying up. Again, it could be a little bit more complicated in the governor's race. And again, if you're seeing a heavily Republican vote, 55-60%, you're probably looking at it and saying, well, Masters is going to eat into that Kelly margin, but may not be able to overtake him. But again, if you're seeing that, you would be able to see Kari Lake overtaking Katie Hobbs in the governor's race.
All right, so set the alarm for 10 Eastern tonight. Come back here, Kornacki in front of the board. We'll know a lot more about Arizona. We don't always talk, Steve, about the race for secretaries of state, but they are crucial in Arizona and Nevada because you have two people on the Republican side who are election deniers and have expressed skepticism about whether they would ever allow a Democrat to win a race, in the case of Mark Fincham anyway. What do those races look like this morning?
Well, so you could take a look to the difference in how these races are going. 115,000 vote lead for Democrat Mark Kelly in the Senate race. Then go down to the governor's race. As I said, Kari Lake, the Republicans, doing better here. She's only trailing.
It's so weird. Like, so what happened? Do people just like... They're flaming you on liberal Twitter for not mentioning Veterans Day? Okay, dude. There's 42,000 people in here. I can't be Dorner posting. But yes, on this day, just like any other day, you can't corner the Dorner.
By 27,000 votes. I just took you through how that could be enough ultimately to get her to victory. We'll see. Now, here's the Secretary of State's race. Fincham, the Republican, this looks much more like the Senate race.
So this is what I don't understand. Like, so what happened in Arizona where they were like the governor, they're on crack or something? Like what? Like this looks like Mark Kelly, or this looks more, this looks closer to like the national, when you pull away from like each individual race and you look at like the national conversation surrounding like sick freaks who are, sick like election perverts, basically. You know what I mean? Sick election perverts losing all around the country. Like, did people just not realize that Kari Lake is just like that when they saw, because of her like local news background? And a lot of people love local news, and a lot of people still, unfortunately, believe. A lot of people, still trust local news anchors and shit like that. Because she is just as much the same brain-broken election pervert as Mark Fincham. And yet she is outperforming Mark Fincham by like 6 points. What the fuck?
So
not
the
6, but like,
we're talking about in the Senate
3,
race
4
really
points.
kind of obtain in the Secretary of State's race as well. And then again, you take a look here in the in Nevada, Marchant, the Republican running for Secretary of State there, he already is trailing the Democrat in that race by 5,300 votes. Again, you take a look at the Senate race, it's Catherine Cortez Masto, the Democrat, who's playing catch up there. So again, there's a small difference there. That's about a 15,000 vote difference between the two of them. But that's a significant difference, because we're asking, can Cortez Masto get to a point where she finishes, a couple thousand votes or more ahead of Laxalt in this race? Already in the Secretary of State's race in Nevada, the Democrats have the...
Katie Hobbs ran a dog shit campaign. She's seen as a pompous ass. She dead ass did not campaign, bro. I mean, the only thing that I can attest to that from, where I'm standing is that I never heard about Katie Hobbs at all, and I only heard about Kari Lake. And in a lot of these elections, like, you can't just rely on down ballot voting as hard, or you can't rely on like the ticket as hard. Can't have other people like try and carry you, especially when things are close. Kari Lake has name recognition both as a, election pervert and also as a local news broadcaster. He was top of the ticket. I know, but like I meant, okay, up ballot voting. How about that? Not down ballot voting. You know what I mean? It's just like party line voting. That's what I'm talking about. Motherfuckers hate women, I swear to God. Wait, what are you talking about? Kari Lake. Wait, what do you mean motherfuckers hate women? We're talking about Arizona, okay? Both of them are women.
The lead.
All right, Steve, what can you tell us about House races and House control?
Yeah, so our NBC model moved twice yesterday. At the start of yesterday, we were projecting that Republicans would land at 222 seats.
This guy said, has Ken Klippenstein ever been in the chat? He would be a great friend of the show.
plus or minus, crucial, plus or minus 7. This is an estimate, but it moved twice yesterday, ticked down to 220 for the Republicans. Again, 218 is the magic number for a party to get a majority. We now have Republicans landing at 220 plus or minus 7 seats, meaning there is still an opportunity for Republicans to press that number up into the 220s, but there's also an opportunity for Democrats to get to 218 to 219 to just barely eke out a majority. The big thing that's going to decide this on the House, we can just call up the map here, is California, because there are just a bunch.
I hate that, like, the fate of the House is now in the hands of 3 of the dumbest fucking states when it comes to tabulation. I hate it so fucking much. It's like California, Nevada, and Arizona. Just the most unreliable. It can't go on like this. It cannot go on like this. You have to fucking fix this election counting process. Well, where's that dude saying voting in California is dumb? Yeah, I mean, that dude is crazy. Who cares? But, like, California has always been like this. It is so fucking unsustainable. So much so that, like, at this point, everybody knows, like, the locks, always projections happen immediately as soon as ballots close, or as soon as the polls close. You get the locks, and then the contested races are not called for 3 fucking weeks, man. Like, that's unacceptable, dude. What the fuck? In California, it's a product of how easy it is to vote here because of late postmarking. It's a good thing. No. I don't know. I think we've made it too easy to vote, okay? It's great. I love it. But, like, holy shit, dude, it's crazy.
Bunch of races in California, which takes, they call it election season in California.
Yeah.
It's going to take weeks in some of these places to get clarity here. But just again, to give you a sense of it, these are all the uncalled races. So, Democrats need to win the bulk of these if they're going to win the House. But look how many of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 of them are in California. So Democrats, we could go.
I mean, look at that. That's unreasonable, brother. That is literally unreasonable. No, chuds don't care about California. They know California always takes super long to fucking count their votes. That's insane, dude.
30s one by one at some point if you want, but basically.
No, they're not all going to be Dem, by the way. No, people constantly forget. California, Kevin McCarthy's from California. The fuck are you guys talking about? California has more Republicans than like 3 Republican states combined, okay? California gave us Richard Nixon and Ronald Reagan. What are you talking about? California has hella red.
There's a lot of opportunities here for Democrats, a lot of really, really narrow races outside California that kind of need to break their way, and then they just need to really kind of sweep through California. That's the kind of scenario that could actually get them to 218 or 219. Again, our model thinks it's most likely the Democrats are going to fall like 3 seats short of a majority, and the irony of that is, if that does end up being the case, if this thing lands at 220, 215, where did Democrats suffer their biggest losses? It was in the state of New York.
Long Island.
It was Long Island, and it was in the Catskills. The chair of the DCCC, who I know is on your...
That dude can suck one, by the way. Apparently, Patrick Maloney, okay? Maloney, L right in the fucking name. Or Mahoney, or whatever the fuck his name is, okay? I don't know. Doesn't matter. Still complaining, saying it's the fucking progressives that are at fault. She said AOC was nowhere to be found for her party in New York. That's why he lost.
your show the other day, oversaw nationally an unbelievable night for Democrats. Nobody would have believed the Friday after the election we'd be talking about Democrats having a path to House control. The guy who oversaw that lost his own seat in New York, along with a number of other Democrats. And Democrats had earlier in the year, they have all the political power in New York, they had earlier in the year aggressively drawn a map that was designed to maximize the number of Democratic seats. It got thrown out by a judge. Had that map been in place, we probably right now, that chart over there would probably have the Democrats favored to hang on to the House.
Wow.
Extraordinary, as you say. We're even talking about the possibility of Democrats winning the House, given the headwinds against them. NBC.
Representative Sean Maloney, by the way, this is Edward Isaac Dover, who fucking sucks asses as well.